Hello, Battle Union fans, and welcome to a bit of a different video. This is, as you can tell by the title, a update on the transfers that have happened. We have just passed Week 4 on the TBU. The Week 4 matches should all be up now, hopefully. And in between Week 4 and 5, we allowed the coaches a transfer period where they got 2 drops. With those 2 drops, they could either drop a Pokemon, 1 or 2, and pick up another Pokemon, 1 or 2. If they, however many they dropped, they could pick up that many. As long as their drafts remained legal in our tier rules, they still had to have so many of, or they couldn't have more than like 2As or whatever the rules are that you hopefully know. They were also allowed to move Z crystals from one Pokemon to another if they used one of their transfers for that. So some people made transfers, some people didn't, some people made more than others. We're going to be going over them, and I am, of course, not alone. I'm actually joined by 2 of our analysts today. Mr. Shroom Raver, how's it going, Shroom?
It's going well. Hello, Battle Union fans. Looking forward to seeing what our coaches have done to try and better their teams.
And then we also have the Jade Hex.
Why do I feel like a third wheel on an awkward date?
Hey, no date between myself and Chaos would ever be awkward. It would be awesome.
It would be amazing, first of all. Second of all, don't point it out.
Hi.
Anyways.
Perfect.
I think I'm the one who's starting us off, so we're going to go through who made transfers, and if someone didn't, we'll just mention that they didn't and move on to the next person. But first off, we do have a transfer. By the way, the transfers were done draft style. It wasn't first come, first serve. We took the current leaderboards and then flipped them. So last place got to go first, 11th place got to go second, and that was the order we used. So, of course, whoever could have guessed, SS Baby Eye got to go first in the transfer period, and he has chosen to drop Komala and Aromatisse to pick up Golbat and Mega Audino.
I love Mega Audino.
Okay.
Right there with you.
So listen, I don't love Mega Audino as much as Shroom does. I know. I don't hate Mega Audino. I think it's a good Pokemon. I just really like Aromatisse.
Yeah, you like Aromatisse way too much. I think it's fine as far as the trade. I think it's an upgrade personally for what's it called? For
Miami Dolphini.
Yeah, for the Dolphinis, just because it's what does it keep its 50 speed or does it go a little bit higher than that? It's a bit faster.
It keeps its speed, I think.
Yeah. Either way, it's
a bit faster than Aromatisse, and it's gets a lot more coverage moves because it's a normal type, right?
Yeah.
And
it's bulkier. I mean, what
it's
base
bulkier,
126, base 126 in both defenses for something that essentially does the same job, albeit it can be taunted.
Yeah, it can be taunted. It can also it's less prone to being set up on, with its coverage moves. Like I want to put up that example, Lando T setting up all over Aromatisse if it didn't have Toxic.
When are you gonna bring Aromatisse without Toxic though?
Yeah, but I mean like there's more than one Pokemon that can set up on Aromatisse.
I mean like
yeah.
Any defensive wall can be set up on if it's against the right Pokemon.
Audino's really harder to set up on, at the very least. His other swap, right, is the Golbat for Komala. He didn't bring Komala once, so...
Yeah, I'm sad about it, because I really enjoy Komala, but at the same time, Golbat is a ridiculously good defogger. He's got rid of a spinner for a defogger. Golbat is stupidly good for something that's actually weak to Stealth Rock. It's very good indeed. It doesn't really care about taking 25% most of the time because it will just roost up on quite a lot of things.
That's fair. I don't necessarily agree with dropping Aroma for Mega Audino, but I do agree with dropping Komala for Golbat. I don't particularly like either of them more so than one or the other, but I can definitely see the appeal of Golbat, especially if he hasn't used Komala yet at all. So.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not like he's still going to go 0-8. It's not like it makes a difference. So.
What it does do for him is it gives him another fighting type switch in now that he has the Mega Audino. Now is no longer an Aromatisse. So he had no fighting switch-ins, I think, other than Salazzle, if I remember correctly.
Salamence, technically?
Salamence, technically, but I mean, not the ideal.
Most of those fighting types have
switch-in.
Ice Punch and Brock move, so.
I feel like you've got them mixed up when you said he's gained one from dropping Aromatisse and getting Mega Audino.
Okay, he dropped Aromatisse, which means he lost one of his best fighting types.
Oh, right, yeah.
On the Mega Audino, which means he doesn't have a fighting like switch-in. Golbat supplements that a little bit more.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
He lost a fighting resist, but gained a fighting resist because he didn't have the greatest fighting resists in the first place, especially because he's got
double fighting resist, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. So he lost because I mean, like, he has Mamo, Regirock, Lipard,
Mm,
Perugly. Jirachi can take
yeah.
some fighting moves depending on its set, but
Mm.
he had a bit of it. Like, fighting moves were like fairly spammable against him, which they usually are against most teams. But and that was part of my worry when he dropped Aromatisse. But Golbat really helps supplement that, like you said. So I can agree to that.
Certainly.
Yeah, Shroom, I think you're next. If you want to move on to Paul, it's going to be a pretty quick one on this because he didn't do much.
He didn't do much, no. He didn't actually change any members of his team. He simply moved a Z Crystal, and he decided to move it from Blaziken to God of War. Interesting choice. I can see sort of the methodology behind it. Blaziken, for the most part, doesn't need the power boost, and it much prefers running an item like Scarf or Sash or something choice, something like that.
Even.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas God of War, it would prefer to have a little bit more of a power boost, and it doesn't necessarily mind losing out on, say, leftovers, or a power boosting item when it's got recovery and good setup.
I mean,
Yeah,
So-
I know.
you go ahead,
Go on.
Jade. You go ahead.
Yeah, I know Paul was torn about picking one over the other at the very beginning of the season. Clearly, he didn't really use the Blaziken at all.
Yeah, he's used it much more often in just a straight up offensive role, scarfed, but certainly not Z Crystal. So yeah, I think this is probably a good decision for him.
Honestly-
And God of War can be really tricksy with the Z Crystal.
Honestly, I think it's completely pointless because he
Okay.
has Z Mew. And most of the time Blaziken has come, Mew has been there, and I think at least twice with a Z Crystal. So it's kind of like when you have Landorus or Salamence, you really don't need any other Z move users unless you're just not going to bring that Pokemon that week, because you're never going to want to be like, I don't really need Z Fly this week. And then when you look at Mew, it's very rare that you're going to be like, I really don't need Mewninium Z this week.
I
Yeah.
am interested that Paul didn't pick up some kind of ground resist or ground immunity. I remember in L5's first week, he's like, what's it called? Paul didn't really have much for
Ground type moves.
ground type moves, and he has Braviary, but
Yeah,
That's
I'm
Vivillon.
looking at his team. It's everything is neutral or weak to ground except Braviary.
Braviary and Vivillon.
And Vivillon.
Oh, and yeah,
Don't
of
forget
course,
the
Vivillon.
defensive monster that is Vivillon.
Yeah,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't brought it yet. He's one of the only people to not use his Vero pick, so that's still got to come one of these coming 4 weeks.
Disappointed.
To be fair, he kind of has the ground to use it if, like, let's say he loses his next game. Maybe he'll just bring Vivillon every week from then
Well,
on.
to be fair to Paul, it is theoretically, mathematically, still possible for him to come out as his division winner if I think Cloud has to lose out from here and Paul has to win out.
And, like, still beat him on differential or something like that.
No, he because I think Cloud is at 3 wins because he's had 1 loss.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So if Paul gets 4 wins and Cloud gets 4 more or 5 more losses, 4 more losses, then he'll beat him by that. If Cloud wins 1 more, he has to beat him in differential, which Paul's losses have been really close. I think he's only like -8 or something like that, even though he's lost 4 games. So he could absolutely
Yeah.
pull that off.
Yeah, -9, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something you can definitely come back. If he gets to +3 differential if he wins his next 4 games with 3 O's. So he can absolutely come back on differential if he has to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah, season's definitely not over for him. I'm just a little perplexed. He might have wanted to pick up something. He has Ferrothorn as his grass type, which means it's not necessarily a ground switch in, but
Those of you watching the video may have just heard a random noise in the background. That was Sony Vegas rendering out a video for me, so sorry about that. I forgot it would make a noise.
How dare you?
But yeah, I mean, Paul's was pretty basic. He just moved his Z Crystal. He hasn't used Z Blaziken. I think Gardevoir, like, for Shroom's reasons, would probably benefit more if he ever did bring it. I honestly don't think he's ever going to. The only time he's ever going to bring, like, a Z Crystal that isn't on Mew is when he has to bring Vivillon, I think. And even then, he might not even bring a Z Crystal. He might just bring it because he has to bring it once. So I think we can, we pretty much set our piece on that, and we can move on. RTK was next, but he did nothing, so we're not even going to talk about him. He just chose not to make a transfer of any kind, which I think he was one of the 3 that did. And so you can take us on to the next one, Jade.
So Frito made a lot of moves. First of all, he traded Jellicent to Jim for Gastrodon, then immediately dropped Gastrodon and the Skuntank to pick up Tentacruel and Dodrio. This is kind of like I think he was the only coach that made trades with, other than Jim, who was his trade partner. He picked up Tentacruel, which is another amazing 100 base speed that he doesn't. I don't think he has too many 100 base speed mons, right? I'm pretty sure. And then he also picks up Dodrio with Bird Span.
He has 5. Yeah. He has 12 Pokemon on his team. 5 of them are base 100 speed.
Yeah,
I see no problem with that.
Yeah, I've actually talked with Frito a little bit, and he agrees that what he considers to be pretty much his biggest mistake is getting so many base 100s. Because he's, in his words, it is very annoying to prep with so many speed tiers at base 100. Which I can only imagine is true. But, yeah, I think that's the only trade to happen the entire season, if I'm not mistaken, is him and Jim. And I know that they were talking to each other about potential transfers they wanted to do, and that was when they came to the decision to do this trade to help them with their transfers as well. And it's completely legal. We allow that to happen. I think it was very smart of both of them. It allowed Jim to get something he wanted, and Frito could drop the Gastrodon to get something else he wanted, so it worked out very well for him. But he dropped essentially he dropped Jellicent because he traded it for Gastrodon and dropped Gastro. So he traded away or dropped rather Jellicent and Skuntank. Yeah, he dropped both of those to pick up Tentacruel and Dodrio. Dodrio is a base 110 speed, so it does help him out a little more with speed. I think his highest was Cobalion, or other than Excelgor, his highest was Cobalion at 108. This gives him a 110, if I'm not mistaken. And it gives him a little bit of bird spam. I think Dodrio is like a base
Mega
110
Gardevoir
attack.
is 115, I think, too, right?
No, Mega Gardevoir is 110.
No,
or
that's
100.
100.
Yeah, it stays at 100.
Okay. No, normal Gardevoir is 80.
Yeah, normal Gardevoir is 80. Mega Gardevoir is 100. Yeah, it's Mega
I'm thinking of Glade.
Yeah, Mega Glade goes up to like 115. But I am really glad that as he dropped Skuntank, he picked up Tentacruel to give it gives him. I'm pretty sure he did not have a grounded poison type, which is usually nice to have for toxic spikes, and it also gives him a very good rapid spinner.
Well, other than the Skuntank.
Other than the Skuntank, yeah.
Yeah, the Skuntank which he dropped. But I'm looking at his team tab, and the Skuntank isn't here. I can't remember what he used to have. I only see what it is now.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this one. Like
he picked up a Dodrio. You should love that.
Well, I do enjoy seeing him have Dodrio. I really want to see him use it well, or just use it at all. It's just that we've constantly sort of picked up on his issues with electric and the fact that Gliscor's his only electric immunity, and it's quad weak to its most common coverage move. So when he picked up Gastrodon, I thought, okay, he's looking to and it's gone. And admittedly,
it's gone, and in its place, 2 more electric weak Pokemon have come in.
That is true. Now, admittedly, Tentacruel it's very good.
Yes. It's also got really good Spadef, so most electric types are special, so it can take a hit or two.
It can certainly take a hit, and it's a very, very good rapid spinner to go along with his very, very good defogger, which is nice. This electric thing, I hope for his sake it doesn't come back to bite him. He's undoubtedly got a couple of good mons in there, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think Dodrio is the one out of everything that I'm most excited to see used.
Yeah, I want to see Dodrio used. I don't think Frito was the team that necessarily needed it, but because he has the Drifblim, Bouffalon, and Dodrio right now. He also has the Gliscor. He has kind of he has Zapdos. Jeez. He has a lot of. He doesn't necessarily have the need for the flying normal, but
it does give him like all of the flying he does have is not really bird spam. It gives him bird spam, and it gives him something that focuses more on just being fast and offensive rather than the multitude of bulky offense he has, which I think could help. I think could help him in the long run, but it depends on how he uses it. Definitely, like Shroom said, the electric issue is still a big deal. He does have mons that can take electric hits just based on how bulky they are, like Shaman, and Shaman can take HP Ices, no doubt, if it's a Spadef one, as can Zapdos if necessary. But it is definitely, it really opens the door to Volt Switch spam, especially because I just saw his Week 8 match happens to be against Mr. Volt Turn himself, Onesie Bennett. So
wow.
I look forward to seeing how, especially because right now Melee is all tied up at 2-2 each, so they're like all fighting it out right now for their division's playoff spot. And Week 8, Melee against a Melee could be a really big deal, and he has to go up against Tapu Koko, which I'm not really seeing a lot of great answers for on his team at the moment.
Yeah. Shaman's okay, but he has Brave Bird, so he'd have to be like Koba Shaman or something.
Yeah, and it's also I'm pretty. Isn't it? Is it Z Coco? I can't remember.
No, I don't think it's Z Coco. He Z'd the Hydreigon, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Z Dragon. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
All right, but anyways, yeah, I mean, it can definitely work for Frito. He's got to watch out for electric types, which he's had to do all season anyways. And we'll just have to see what he can do with it. I really hope to see Dodrio get at least like 3 kills before the season ends. So that's what I'm holding out
Definitely.
for.
I think that's realistic.
Absolutely.
Dodrio does bird things.
Yeah, I like to give realistic things. But I'm going to go ahead and start us off on the next one, which is Slyro, who did absolutely nothing as well. He was one of the 3 to do nothing, so his team is remaining the same. He started to get his groove back. I believe he won this week as well, so he's 2-2 now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, so I can understand him not. He had 2 really bad first weeks. I think it was just him getting into the swing of his team and back into Pokemon really, because he had been on a bit of a break and then sort of kind of come back, but not really, and is now really getting back into league play. So I think he's fine not making any. Which means next up is Mr. Onesie himself, who we were just talking about, the Birmingham Spritzy. He has dropped Chestnut and Archeops, which pains me to say because I love Archeops so much. And he has picked up Sigilyph and Shiftry.
Yeah. He didn't necessarily need what Chestnut brought with his random viewer pick in Meganium. Obviously, the spikes is a big deal, but he has Fortress, so it's not really that big a deal. The Shiftry gives him defog, and I guess I don't know if Sigilyph gets defog too, but it gives him another dark type. It gives him some sucker punch.
I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure I know Sigilyph. Most Pokemon get defog from Gen 4, it being an HM, and Sigilyph is Gen 5, so I doubt it does, but it is possible. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
Yeah. As you said, Archeops is a really cool mon. A little redundant with Talonflame, but I don't know what exactly his picks are going to be doing. They're kind of cool, like niche picks. They might have really good matchups in the future, but I like Sigilyph in the fact that you can run like Focus Sash, Magic Guard, and kind of have like a pseudo Alakazam effect, or even just run like the Willow Flame Orb set.
Yeah,
that's a little exciting to say the least.
I don't necessarily dislike the trades. I just don't think like. I didn't really.
He's trading mons he didn't use anyway, so.
Yeah, he traded mon he didn't use anyway for mons that I don't think he's going to use anyway. I think it's just completely pointless. Much like with Paul's moving a Z Crystal, I just don't see it as. I don't think it's going to do anything at all. Looking at the rest of his team, like you said, Chestnut was doing nothing because Fortress could do the things, and Fortress and Meganium combined could do the things that Fortress would do depending on, the things that Chestnut could do depending on what you needed. Because like Chestnut was mostly there for spikes and stuff, but Fortress does it better. And if he really, really needs a bulky grass, then he has Meganium.
And he can't drop Meganium.
And he can't drop Meganium, yeah, because it's his viewer pick. I really just don't see, like, looking at his roster, I feel like, especially with how much he's been using Ditto, because Ditto and Steelix would be the go-tos I would think wouldn't be there, but he's been using them both fairly. I think he brought Steelix to counter Mega Mawile, and he's used Ditto more than I ever expected him to. But I just don't see Sigilyph and Shiftry ever coming. But, I mean, if he can make them work, good on him. I just don't see... And at the same time, I don't think he's really lost anything because he wasn't using, like you said, Archeops is pretty redundant when you have Talonflame, which I agree with. And as much as I do love Archeops, I just don't see Sigilyph and Shiftry ever coming. So I don't really think he's made an improvement or a detriment. Which, you know, going in an FA period, not making a detriment to your team can be just as useful.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some interesting options that he can go with here. I mean, Sigilyph, I think, could actually be something of a sleeper pick. It's more powerful than people initially expect. It's got that kind of, I think Sigilyph's going to have that kind of Zangoose syndrome, where people will look at his big threats, his Tapu Koko, his Mega Beedrill, his Hydreigon. They'll come to the battle, they'll look at the screen and go, oh no, he's got Sigilyph.
Yeah, like Life Orb Sigilyph can do some things randomly,
really
especially when it comes in outside of Stealth Rock and doesn't care about anything. So it's like
it doesn't even care about Stealth Rock.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, exactly. The Magic Guard.
Yeah, and Shiftry's an intriguing one. It can get kind of gimmicky, and that will probably play to Alex's strengths. But much like Chaos, I don't know how often he's going to bring Shiftry. I think he'll bring Sigilyph a decent amount. My main thing is how it's going to stack up versus Hydreigon in his team. Very similar speed tiers, very similar jobs. Hydreigon a little more powerful on both sides, certainly, but Sigilyph does have those nasty setup sets. So I think that's going to be its main competition in the team. It'll be interesting to see if he can sort of, balance them around, rotate them on his roster, and get some good use out of that. I'm excited for Sigilyph.
This is the team that I'd like to watch the most as far as the swaps go. Like these swaps, if they do something, it'll be fun to watch at the very least.
Yeah, I really don't care for Shiftry. Sigilyph I'd be really interested in seeing, but I just really don't see him. I mean, you look at Coco, Beedrill, Hydreigon, Fortress, Slowbro, Talonflame, Diggersby, Ditto. It's really, it's got to have a matchup for Sigilyph to bother coming. But you never know, it might happen. Alex, he brought, what was it, SD, Outrage, Z, Crystal, Meganium, so if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, Shroom, I think you lead us on to the next one.
Yeah, this is one I actually have a fair bit on. It's Jim, who decided to drop Stoutland and Gigalith.
A.k.a. his budget sand.
Getting rid of budget sand to bring in Sandslash and Alolan Ninetales.
He also lost Gastrodon and got the Jellicent with that trade in Frito.
Now, he needed to pick up a ground type, right? So.
Yeah. Well,
he's facing off against the Coco.
He's got Garchomp, but yeah, facing off against Coco, Garchomp isn't necessarily safe. First thing to mention, I think he's done very well out of the trade.
Yes.
I think getting Jellicent is a little bit of a coup. I think he's done very well there. Jellicent gives him that ghost typing, and it gives him the water immunity. He's got 3 immunities going on just with that 1/1, and it's just really very good at what it does. Now the drops, Stoutland, Gigalith, 4 games, never brought them, and he hasn't needed to. Certainly at the start of the season, he was perfectly happy winning his games without the cut price sand. So they were kind of just taking up slots in his team that it didn't look like he was going to use. Now he's got rid of them. He's brought in Sandslash, which is good because boy did he need hazard removal. Other than Skarmory, he wanted a spinner. I know he wanted a spinner. I know he was considering several, not least among them Hitmonchan, and there was another spinner he was looking at. Oh no, it wasn't a spinner. It was Lycanroc. But I think he was of that one. Sandslash, I think, is a very good pick. I personally love it. Alolan Ninetales is really interesting. That was the one where he was considering either Hitmonchan or Lycanroc. And he decided to go with Alolan Ninetales.
I think that's really cool because Aurora Veil plus the myriad of setup options he has with Garchomp or Beijing.
That's exactly what his main
Heracross even.
He's got 3 really, really good SD users in Heracross, Mega Absol, and Garchomp, and they could really appreciate having that damage lessened for 5 turns.
This is true. This is very true, and I know that was one of his main draws. Now, while I like it, and while it's certainly got a lot of potential for him, I just hope that he doesn't think he needs to become overly reliant on it. He's won games very well without it. Now, while this will help him, I just hope that he doesn't change his plans entirely. Because he hasn't always needed setup.
Does Aurora Veil work with Light Clay?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. I thought it did. I just wanted to be sure. I agree with you entirely, Shroom. He does only have 4 games left, but I don't want to see Alola Ninetales all 4 of those games coming, especially specifically for setting up Aurora Veil. He absolutely...
Oh, I don't think he will.
Yeah, I don't think he will either, but that's the concern you brought up, and I agree with it. It doesn't... That's one of the biggest things about, screen setters and stuff. And, when you get Mew and you just rely on it completely to be bulky defog, you don't want to rely on Mons to do this one certain niche thing every single week. People will find ways around it. It won't work every single week, etc., etc. He has plenty on his team, especially now that he's got that Rapid Spinner and Sandslash, which is very useful. I definitely think that was a great pickup for him. Jellicent was a very good pickup. I believe he didn't have a Ghost until now, so he can block spins of his own, which, again, one of the things we talked about his team with having Skarm for Spike and Rock setup and Roserade for T-Spikes and Spikes. His team really appreciates a bit of chip damage so that, Specs Jolteon or Garchomp and Victini and Mega Absol and Heracross can kill things that need a little bit of chip damage before. And having Sandslash so that he doesn't have to defog away stuff really helps him keep that sort of niche of his team going. So
one thing I really think this these switches do for his team, it really opens up the possibility to get his hazard stacking option open, because like before he didn't have a spin blocker, he didn't really have like a myriad of ways to chip. Now he has hail, now he has a spin blocker in Jellicent.
Yeah.
He has like he really opens the option to run like hazard stacking team, like the hazard
He's
stacking
got
team, which he
he's
really
got a
hasn't
lot of
had before.
he's got a lot of chip options now, which he had before somewhat, but it's just these he did like this is a total of like 3 different switches overall in getting rid of Gigalith and Stoutland, who were basically doing nothing. And me and Shroom, I remember, were very critical of it in the first place because it is like the budgetest of budget sand, and we didn't think it would be doing much, and lo and behold, it never came. And then also getting Jellicent for spin blocking, like you said, he can absolutely just that damage can rack up really fast if Jim can make it work well.
Yeah, it's not. They're probably not the team movements that I'm most excited about. I would say I think he's probably done the best.
I would agree. I was actually thinking about
his team
it.
improves the most.
I think
from
yeah. I think that he got the most out of the FA period, even though it's not the one that I'm most looking forward to. But let's go on to the next one, which I believe Jade, you're going to tell us this one.
That's going to be Kyle of the Harlem Gloomtrotters, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
He's going to be dropping the Raichu, but moving his Z Crystal to Slowking. He's dropping the Raichu for Shuckle. So Shuckle is fun. It can set up sticky webs, and that's all I've seen it do. And that's it.
There it is.
It does more than that, and I think Kyle will be able to properly get. If anyone can get the most out of a Shuckle, and believe me, I've tried and failed. Kyle can do it. I think his team actually really appreciates it. We've spoken at great length about sort of the use of webs in this format and how they haven't really been a massive deal. But you look at some of the things that he can attack with Sticky Web up.
Lucario.
Lucario is the main one.
Lucario,
because that thing is very deadly.
Absolutely. I look at his team and I'm like, Lando I is fast enough. Mega Aerodactyl is absolutely fast enough. But then you get to Z Lucario and it's just like, yeah, that's where the sticky webs just make everyone cry.
And other things as well, you know, the likes of Heatran, Aurora, Thrapion. These things can really put in a lot of work offensively.
Sylveon
too.
Yeah, fast Sylveon can really appreciate sticky webs as well.
I think of all the things he could have picked to move that Z Crystal to, I think he's made actually pretty good decision there. Slowking does get that pretty nice offensive move pool, and it might not even be suspected. Like, he's not going to necessarily draw attention to the fact that he has a Z Crystal.
It kind of gives him that pseudo Cobra effect too, and kind of the same kind of philosophy with L5 is Coffagrigus, right? Like, it opens up a Trick Room offensive set really easily.
It really does. He doesn't necessarily need, of course, those leftovers because of the regen. And yeah, like you say, it has that potential. Is he Cobra Berry? Is he Assault Vest? Is he Choiced? God forbid. Depending on sort of counts and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think Z Slowking is really going to catch people off guard.
I think it probably was his best option to move the Z Crystal onto, especially because I don't believe he brought Raichu at all. So Raichu was doing nothing, even with the Z Crystal. And his other Z-Mons are, of course, Aurorus, which is his viewer pick, which isn't going to come every time. I think he's brought it twice, actually.
He's brought it twice, yeah.
He's brought it twice. So he's brought it more than some people have been bringing viewer picks. But it hasn't come a ton. I never really expect Aurorus to come, but you never know. But his other Z-move user is Lucario, and unlike we were talking earlier about, like, Paul is almost never going to have a Z-Crystal on something that isn't Mew because of how good Mew Ninium Z and all that stuff is, and how he has such his team is so equipped to run offensive Mew, so it really likes the Z-Crystal because it's usually an offensive Mew. And then stuff like Salamence and Dragonite always want to have Z-Crystal because when are you ever going to want those Pokemon without Z-Fly? But Lucario is a Pokemon that's much like Paul's Blaziken. It can use other items just as well as a Z-Crystal and be just fine, like Life Orb, Expert Belt, all of that. It's just as likely to see one of those on Lucario instead of a Z-Crystal, which really opens up the possibility of him having the Z-Crystal on Slowking instead of always having it on something else that you expect to be at almost every single game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's made a good choice there, moving on Slowking. I think he's looking to get a load of momentum back, and I think this could actually really help him do it. Be interesting to see if Shuckle can contribute to that.
It will be interesting to see. He's got to take it off of his bench first, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yes.
Let's move on then. The next is another person who did nothing, L5. He decided to keep his team as is. I think, is L5 3-1 right now?
Yes, he's 3-1
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
now.
because he got that surprise Scarf Vaporeon ended up costing him against Sly.
Yeah.
But he's 3-1, so he's doing really well. I'm pretty sure we put L5 at like 5th or something on the post-draft PR anyway, so he has a really good team, and L5's a good player, so I think he's perfectly fine keeping his team as is. It's pretty good to go.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, so let's move on to Cloud, actually, who has had a surprisingly good season. He's done pretty well.
He's 3-1 right now. He could have easily been 4-0. So
Yeah, he's in the division with Paul that we thought Paul would have the playoff of, but right now he's the front runner to get into playoffs in his division. So that's, he's had a really good season, but he has made some switch arounds, which I'm actually really interested in. He did move his Z Crystal from Celesteela to Thunderous T, which is what I thought he should have done in the first place.
Yep.
So Z Celesteela did really come in handy against Paul, I will admit. I'm not going to say it didn't, because I'm pretty sure that Supersonic Sky Strike possibly saved him that game, because it got the damage he needed. But other than that, I really think Thunderous T overall is the better Z Crystal move user. It's just outside of base 100, so it can outspeed the majority of Pokemon. And having that nuke move of Gigavolt Havoc, or I don't know if it gets any fly. I guess it could actually get fly and use that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has any flying moves. I know it uses HP flying from time to time, but it has tons of coverage.
I think it gets fly.
It does, yeah. I don't know how good its physical stat is, but it gets tons
It's
of coverage.
good.
It's good.
Yeah, it gets tons of coverage moves that can benefit greatly from Z Crystal, and just having a Gigavolt Havoc nuke after setting up a nasty plot is plenty fine enough on its own. So there's not much to say on that. I just think it was overall the better idea. But he also dropped Stunfisk, which I believe has not come at all, to pick up Kabutops, which I'm actually pretty interested in, because I don't think that Kabutops is great or underappreciated or anything, but I actually think it's a pretty solid mon, and I look forward to seeing him use it in whatever way he does.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's given him another rapid spin option, which is, that's always appreciated, especially when you have that Thunderous Therian that could be sort of volt switching
And
around, speed of
Kyurem.
sound, Kyurem as well. That's very true. He's also got a Ninetales, I suppose. And various other stuff like Sharpedo that doesn't really want to take chip damage at all. So yeah, I think, much as I do enjoy Stunfisk, and I do like Stunfisk, I think it's pretty cool, and it does a decent job. Kabutops comes in, he already has a ground type in Donphan as an electric immunity, for example, and Thunderous Therian as an offensive one. So he doesn't need the ground typing, it gives him a rocks for rocks trade, Kabutops gets the spin, and Kabutops is weirdly versatile. You've got these offensive sets, but it's easy to forget that thing is hella bulky on the physical side. He's got options with this, and it just offers him, I think, just something a little bit new. And if he wants to get gimmicky, he's got a Rain Sweeper, just in case he wants to run dual weather with Ninetales.
He's run Trick Room, and this is not a Trick Room team.
Yeah, so you never know.
Absolutely.
Run
You never know what he's
basically-
going to do. I think this is a fairly strong move. Both of these, I think, have been fairly strong moves from someone who's already doing very well. He hasn't done himself any disservices here, I don't think, at all.
Yeah, he didn't need the Stunfisk at all. Donphan exists, Celebi exists. He has the Thunderous T.
Yeah.
He didn't need the Electric Immune, which is basically what you primarily have Stunfisk for. You switch into Electric moves and set up Stealth Rocks. That's 90% of what Stunfisk does, other than just be fat in general. So it's a good mon, he just didn't need it.
Yeah.
And otherwise just great moves all around.
Overall, I think it
Absolutely.
was definitely a good idea. Putting Thunderous T as the Z move user is something I think he should have done from the start. Although it helped him beat Paul, so I guess it was good to have it for the first 4 weeks and then switch it to where it should have been in the first place. But yeah, and I also agree. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Cloud himself has said that he looks forward to using Kabutops. I look forward to seeing it do literally anything, just because I love Kabutops. I love all of the fossil Pokemon. But yeah, I think
Even
Thunderous,
Bastiodon?
even Bastiodon.
Oh,
I'm trying to think of ones that I don't like.
Caracosta?
No, I love Caracosta. What was it? I had it on the tip of my tongue. Credilli. I don't like Credilli. That's like the only one.
Armando?
Great.
Amistar is like I could take it or leave it, but
Okay,
Yeah.
next team.
yeah.
We're getting off
What
on
is
a
what is this
tangent.
conversation? This is another video that we need to make on our own time. Who said
Yes.
Cloud? Was that me? So
was
Shroom.
you.
Yeah. So you go next, Shroom. Go ahead.
So, yeah, up next we've got our penultimate one. In second on the table, we've got Trev. and he has decided to make just one change. He's dropped Circuitry and picked up Mega Alakazam.
Scary.
I mean, yeah, just, he's taken one of his very, very scary special attackers and he's replaced it with a very, very scary special attacker. It's about twice as fast as Circuitry. He never really got the best out of Circuitry. He only brought it once in the first week, and it just kind of died. He was happy to sack it in that game, but he just never brought it. He loses a Volt Switcher, but he's got plenty of initiative on his team, and Mega Alakazam is just brutally powerful.
It's one of those ones that can just come in and win at any time.
It's just that you basically have to. Mega Alakazam comes in, you basically have to. A lot of times, for some teams, you have to decide a sack because it's so fast and so powerful, especially with stuff like. And it can hit on both sides between Psychic and Psyshock, that it can really just kill a Mon effectively for someone to be able to bring in a Scarfer or something to take it back.
And Megazam, I mean, for one thing, Megazam outspeeds a bunch of Scarfers. Like if you're trying to boost the speed of one of your sort of mid-tier speedsters, and your opponent brings in Mega Alakazam, you're like, well, not even my Scarfer outspeeds it.
It's like
the other thing about Mega Alakazam is that it adds this whole new dimension to a battle with Trace.
Yes,
that is true as well. Yeah.
I mean,
Trace on fast Pokemon, like it adds like that random, like if you bring it in on an offensive Mon that isn't like scarfed and faster than you, like you could like steal like an adaptability or something and just be like, ow.
I've had
all sorts of terrifying things. I've faced off against one that traced Sandstream.
Oh dear,
that's terrifying.
In a sandstorm.
I haven't used Mega Alakazam, but I've used Gardevoir and traced adaptability from Dragalge before, and it is absolutely terrifying to be up against something with stabs like that and have adaptability. And adaptability Mega Alakazam with Psyshock or Psychic is just terrifying just thinking about it. But it is like you said, most mid-tier Scarfers, like the average Scarfer speed is what? Usually 70 to 90 is the average base speed that you look for a good Scarfer. Somewhere around that range.
Maybe like 80 to like 100-ish.
Yeah, somewhere in that range is usually what you aim for, because that can outspeed most Pokemon that go up to like base 110, base 120 even, I think. But it's kind of like when you run into something like when you're having to prep for a Salamence or something similar to that will set up a D-Dance. You have to bring a Scarfer that can outspeed a +1 base 100 Mon. Alakazam is kind of like that without needing to be +1. It just exists at that speed tier that is ridiculously hard to deal with.
I think.
I'm pretty
base 150 speed. I don't know what Scarfer you need to beat Mega Alakazam.
I think it'd have to be a base 100. I think if you're under base 100, you don't beat it.
Well, that's a little frightening.
Yeah. It's a terrifying thing. Is Megazam. So yeah, this I think it's good. Like, yeah, sure, he loses out on electric.
I don't think it's like I don't think it's like it's kind of like a side grade rather than a straight upgrade or downgrade.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
I was a little disappointed because Speed Pass into Xurkitree is so terrifying, because Xurkitree is really, it's not like base 183 special attack.
Xurkitree isn't as scary when it's not a Z move user, if I remember correctly.
Well, that's only because the Z move gives it like +1 speed.
Yeah.
Is because the rain gives it +1 Z. And you can't do that in League format usually. So it's the thing that makes it scary is the speed boost, which he has to give to it with Scolipede, and it doesn't have to have a Z crystal for that. It can have some other item. But I'm a little disappointed that we never got to see that, and that also he has no electric presence now other than Kyurem Black, which, Kyurem Black is plenty good. It's not an electric type, but its Fusion Bolt does plenty of damage, but he's just lost out on electric in general outside of that. But I definitely think, Mega Alakazam is plenty good enough to make up for it.
Are you doubting Porygon 2's Bolt Beam coverage?
You know what? I hadn't considered that until just now. I was actually thinking, like, well, Alakazam gets Charge Beam, so I guess it's kind of like an electric type. I didn't even consider Porygon 2. You're right. I should have thought that through. But
silly chaos.
Exactly. Jade, I think you get to bring us into first place, the last one.
Oh, yeah, our final swap. I think this swap's really cool. We have Ethan with this Tennessee Dynamos. He's going to be dropping Entei and Mesprit. Those are two mons you don't really see dropped from teams very often. And he's going to be bringing in the Reuniclus and Chandelure. And Reuniclus
terrifying.
It's terrifying considering you add it on to the basically 5-man death squad that Ethan comes to the game with. The Megalop Dragonite, Scizor, Nidoqueen, Alomomola. Those came, I'm pretty sure, pretty much came to every game so far, more or less. You add the Reuniclus element to that, it gets a lot scarier. What do you guys think about the Reuniclus Chandelure pickup?
I mean, this. Sorry, you go, Cass.
I love Chandelure as a Pokemon. I've only just recently drafted it, and I haven't gotten to use it yet because that league is only just now about to start. But Chandelure is an absolutely amazing Pokemon. Offensive Fire and Ghost, and with Flame Charge to get it to the +1 speed, it needs to just sweep teams with like base 145 special attack. And like you said, he has that, I can't remember exactly, it's like Nidoqueen, Scizor, Megalopunny. He's got 5 Pokemon that come basically every week. Alomomola, and then there's one fifth one, but he has...
Dragonite.
Yeah, Dragonite. He has 5 Pokemon that come basically every week, and I actually saw him and Kyle talking about this, that like, Ethan really just like, whenever he builds a team, he just has to figure out what the 6th one coming is going to be. And I mean, like, he's got a really incredibly good formula on his team. He did really well with his draft to where he can do that. And really, I mean, Entei and Mesprit are both such good Pokemon. I was also really surprised to see them go, especially Mesprit, because I love Mesprit so much. And he's actually lost a Z-mover in this, because Mesprit,
Yes.
I believe, was a Z-move user, and he didn't have any transfers to move it over because he dropped Entei and Mesprit. So he lost his Z-move
Goes into
user.
the ether.
Yeah, it's gone forever. But again, he's also one of the people that we were talking about before. He has Dragonite, and it comes almost every week, and you're never going to want Dragonite without Z-Fly, so it kind of works out. But,
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his team tab now. He's brought Scizor, Nidoqueen, and Alomomola to every game, and then Megalopony, Dragonite, and Delmise to 3 of the games. And it's, again, like you say, you don't see those 2 mons dropped every day. Entei is crazy powerful. Mesprit has just all the coverage you need, and it's super bulky. But it's just the fact that you've got this unbeaten guy who is just casually, mid-season, going to bring in one of the most dangerous Trick Room sweepers or defensive setup mons around in the form of
Reuniclus
Reuniclus.
is so scary. It's like there's no week where you're like, oh, I don't have to prep for Reuniclus. It's like there's a chance that Reuniclus can destroy basically any draft.
Yeah, this is true. And then on the other side, what you've got to remember is that Chandelure gives him something. If there was anything he was lacking on his team, it was a bit of a problem with fire. He has a Scizor that's quad weak, and then the only things he has other than that, Alomomola and Dragonite, sure, they're very good at it, but he always wants, you can always have more of something that buffs your team. And now not only does he have that, he has something that's going to make people think twice about even going for fire attacks, because Chandelure just benefits from it.
If you think Alomomola is the best fire type switch, and you haven't faced Fire Spin Toxic mons,
This is true.
by the
We
way,
saw it happen with Kyle last season.
yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think he even needed to make any changes because his team was good enough as is. But I'm not sure if I would really call this like better or worse.
I wouldn't say this is like a good, like an amazing trade. It's just a trade. Like he didn't need to make a trade because he didn't bring those mons anyway. But like, I'd say it adds like a side grade. It's like side grade in the sense of like a normal draft, but in the sense of Ethan's draft where he can bring 4 or 5 mons basically the same every week. It adds like, oh, I also have to prep for this and not get 6-0'd.
I have to prep for Trick Room Reuniclus. I have to prep for Flame Charge Chandelure. I have to prep for Spec Chandelure, etc.
Yeah. This, as you say, it's not really an upgrade. It's certainly not a downgrade. But it's just he's taken away some power and some coverage, and he's just added danger to his team, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, right now he's the only team undefeated, so he's the only one who can go undefeated. I think he could absolutely pull it off at this point because he's already beat Trev and Kyle, if I'm not mistaken.
He's basically got to get through L5, and if he gets through
L5,
L5,
L5 is going to be his hardest competition. He has to get through Hacks and L5.
Yeah. If L5 is his toughest competition in the end of the week. He has Jim, he has Frito, he has Babii, and he has.
All right. Well, SS is a guaranteed win. Jim, as we've said numerous times, and Jim has agreed with us, Jim's playstyle depends on his mood that day. He either plays fairly well or just bad. And then I think Frito can kind of be a bit in Jim's camp of where he like either just plays bad or he can do fairly well. I don't think that he's like on like just complete garbage level, because I mean he did beat Paul, so you know.
Yeah, and that was an amazing build for Frito's side.
Yep. By the way, before we wrap up, I do want to say I was doing calcs while you guys were taking your turns talking, and a base 99 speed Pokemon, max speed nature with a choice scarf, speed ties with speed nature Mega Kazam.
So it literally has to be a base 100
Or you have to
have a chance.
Or you have to, that's the only way you guaranteed outspeed, or you have to risk a speed tie with a base 99, which I don't even know what Pokemon are base 99.
Is there base 99
Genesect.
Pokemon?
Genesect, there you go, yeah, Genesect can
That's-
choice
that's
scarf
a
U-turn,
common
yes!
That's a common setup.
Perfect.
The Genesect, that Mega Alakazam matchup we see in Draft League every day.
Yeah, I hate it whenever someone picks Mega Kazam and Genesect together, because then you can't get the one Mega Kazam counter.
I know.
So I was essentially right earlier when I said if you want to outspeed Mega Kazam, which a lot of times Mega Kazam will be modest instead of timid just because of how good its speed is, but if you want to outspeed Mega Kazam, the only way you are guaranteed to outspeed it is to have a choice scarfer that is base 100, and it has to be speed nature.
Yep.
I can confirm there is only one Pokemon that we can legally draft that, when choice scarfed max speed, will speed tie with Mega Zam.
Which is?
What if?
Gorgeist Small.
There you have it!
The
Because,
only others are Xerneas and Yveltal.
yeah, I mean, why would you just run Shadow Sneak on your Gourgeist when you can run Choice Scarf Max Speed and Speed Tie?
And speed that.
Because of the
Exactly.
Sucker Punch.
Ah, that's fair, I didn't consider that.
Oh yes, the Megazam Sucker Punch.
I've
You need
seen
to
it
speed
happen.
tie it.
Oh no, I haven't.
what do you... Okay.
I'm thinking of something completely different.
All right.
Okay,
yes,
I
I'm gonna-
think we've gone off the board into insanity at this point.
Yeah, this
Yes.
is like, you've watched PR, right? This is how it is with me and Shroom every time. But,
yeah, welcome to the insanity.
Yeah, welcome
Man.
welcome to being a TBU analyst. We've got you. There's no escaping now. You only get to escape if we end up hating you, and that's only ever happened with Shoddy, so good luck.
But yeah, I think that's probably going to wrap things up, is it not?
I think we're done. It took us about 45 minutes, which is longer than I anticipated, but it was fun and it worked well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to check out other analytical videos, Jade and Juan do the weekly recaps that usually go up on Saturdays or just whenever they can, and then Shroom and I do PR that usually goes up on Mondays or just whenever it can. And those will be, the week 4 ones will be coming out. This is going up Friday, so hopefully recap will be up tomorrow or maybe Sunday, and then PR will be up this coming Monday, so you can check those out. Links to coaches and whatnot will be in the description. Be sure to check them out. We're halfway through the season, and playoffs are still pretty open, depending. Some people need some miracles to happen, Paul, but there are, especially, I know the Melee division especially is very close. All of their competitors are 2-2, and there are still some possibilities. Akala is actually, since Paul has been, I think that's the Akala one, or that might be Pony.
That's Ulu. Yeah,
Is it
that
Ula Ula?
Ula is Paul's division.
Ula is Paul's division. That one is actually really close now because I think Paul is basically out unless a miracle happens. But Slyro and Cloud is only 1 win ahead of Slyro, so either of them could end up taking that spot. It's still very open unless Cloud wins out, which, you know, I wouldn't count on anyone winning out at this point except maybe Ethan.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's definitely, there are still some major possibilities for playoffs. It's looking really good, so be sure to check out the coaches and follow out for the rest of the season, see who's going to get into playoffs. Shroom, do you have anything to say?
Not particularly, no. But just as you know, as always, what we've been talking about here are our opinions of the trades, and we'd like to hear yours. So let us know what you think of the transfers that were made. Let us know if you think they were good ones or bad ones, or what you would have got into the teams, because we love to hear your views on that.
Absolutely do that. Jade, do you have any closing statements?
No.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. Well, you've just let us all down, and this is the last time we invite you to one of these. I'm just kidding. Thanks for joining us, though, Jade, really. Because usually it's just me and
Absolutely,
Shroom
yeah.
doing... Yeah, it's usually just me and Shroom doing stuff like this. It was nice to have a third opinion. Finally, don't have to
Yes.
just deal with Shroom for 40 minutes.
40.
40... Yeah, it's usually like
Yeah,
an hour and a half.
57 to 75 minutes.
Something like
Because-
that.
Yeah, somewhere around.
remember
I mean, like,
correctly.
it's like, you know, the recording was only like 50 minutes now. But yes, thank you all for watching. Be sure to check out other stuff, and we will see you for other TBU videos in the future. And until then, farewell.
It is.